Well done, good and faithful servant. Preparing for this homily, I read somewhere that this is the last parable in the Gospels, and indeed it's certainly the last parable of the church's year, unless you count the readings next Sunday as a parable. That's disputed. It's a last parable in the Gospels, and it speaks of a rich man giving out this money to be looked after by his servants. In the last few weeks, in the last few months, we've been going through on weekdays, first Matthew and then Luke's Gospel, and on Sundays too we've heard loads of parables. And it struck me two things really. One is that Jesus' hearers often were very wealthy people. He talks about people who own vineyards, people who own sheep and farms, and so on. Also, that often the characters in his stories are not exactly perfect examples. The unjust steward, the judge who has to be persuaded to give justice to those who petition him, landowners and vineyard owners who seem to be unfair in the way in which they treat people, harsh masters, beaten servants. He paints these key figures not as necessarily good examples of behaviour, but perhaps as chastising those who are his listeners. So be cautious when you hear a parable like this. The one who had the one talent gets punished. But why does he get punished? Because he is poor and is afraid of becoming poorer? Or is there another reason? The parable is telling us, and the words of Jesus in that parable are telling us, that we all have gifts, every single one of us, even those who think we don't have gifts. He's saying to those who think that they have no talents, that they have nothing valuable of themselves, those who bury their merit in the ground, that in fact they have very much. He tells us that God gives to people according to their ability. He tells us that however small we may be, we have something valuable that's been given to us by God. He tells us that however powerful we may be, it does not make us just and merciful and kind. And the challenge to us is quite a simple one. Realise the gifts God's given us. Be grateful for the blessings which we receive. Appreciate not what we haven't got, but what we have. And use it in the service of him.